Earth was a planet that sat quietly in the vast, dark sea of space. To the galaxies beyond, it was a speck of dust, lost among billions of stars. The Galactic Empire, a massive interstellar force that ruled countless worlds, paid no attention to Earth. Its people were unaware of the cosmic power that stretched across the stars. Humanity lived in peace, focused on their small world, ignorant of the vast forces beyond their atmosphere. The Empire had long decided that Earth wasn't worth their time. Its technology was basic, its military weak. So, the Empire left the humans alone, thinking they were nothing more than a minor curiosity. What the Empire didn't know, however, was that Earth was preparing for something greater than anyone could imagine. In the dark corners of the planet, deep within the quiet offices of scientists and government officials, humanity had been quietly advancing. They had made small but significant discoveries that began to unravel the mysteries of the universe. These advances weren't public knowledge. The world's leaders knew that Earth's time might come sooner than expected, and when it did, the planet would be ready. But the Empire was still far from suspicious. They had their own affairs to worry about, controlling entire star systems, managing intergalactic politics, and waging wars with other powerful races. Earth was beneath their radar, unimportant, invisible. However, all that would change with a single unexpected signal. It was subtle at first, just a faint hum that reverberated across the radio waves of the planet. No one could quite figure out what it was. Scientists brushed it off, thinking it was just an anomaly, an odd signal in the cosmic background noise. But something about it seemed different. A few days later, the hum grew louder, more distinct. It was a pattern, not random at all. Earth's top astronomers and communication experts were baffled. No one had sent it. It came from the stars themselves. At first, there were whispers of alien life. But no one truly believed it. The government remained quiet, and the military dismissed it as a curiosity. But for a small group of top-tier scientists, the signal became an obsession. They dug deeper into its meaning, its source, and its purpose. Soon, they discovered that it was not just an ordinary radio wave. It was a message, an encrypted transmission meant to be decoded. The humans worked day and night, deciphering the message, understanding its hidden code. What they discovered was shocking. The message wasn't just from an alien civilization. It was a warning, a distress signal from a race of beings far more advanced than humanity could ever have imagined. The Galactic Empire was coming. They were on their way to Earth, expecting to make contact, to take over, and to erase humanity from the galactic map. The message had been sent out of desperation, a last plea for help. The Empire had overrun their planet, and Earth was next on the list. The message revealed their plan to invade, conquer, and rule. The humans, not yet aware of the real danger, had unknowingly been marked for destruction. The realization hit hard. Earth was in grave danger, and humanity had no way of defending itself. The Empire was too powerful. Their fleets could sweep through Earth in a matter of days, their technology far beyond anything Earth had developed. Earth's best minds realized that they had to act fast. With the Galactic Empire's fleet on its way, there was no time to waste. There was no more room for mistakes. The people of Earth began to work in silence, hiding their fear behind every decision, their thoughts focused on one goal, survival. In the meantime, the world's leaders scrambled to prepare. Governments, military forces, and secret organizations began to come together. The stakes were far too high. It wasn't just about defending Earth anymore. It was about ensuring that humanity would not be erased from existence. Scientists across the world had spent years, decades even, developing technologies that no one had ever expected to need. They had been waiting for the right moment to unveil their creations, but they had never imagined that moment would come so soon. Now, with Earth's future on the line, they had no choice but to reveal everything. What the Galactic Empire didn't know, and what humanity had kept hidden, was the fact that Earth was not as weak as they thought. The humans had spent years experimenting with technologies that could shift the balance of power. Though they were still primitive compared to the Empire's advancements, they had discovered the secrets of harnessing energy in ways that the Empire couldn't yet comprehend. They had developed weapons, shields, and technologies that were ahead of their time, carefully hidden from the Empire's gaze. But it wasn't just technology that made humanity different. It was their resolve, their spirit, and their drive. While the Empire had seen species come and go, with many too quick to surrender, humans were different. They were stubborn, relentless, and fiercely protective of their own. They had never known true war on the scale the Empire waged, but their ability to adapt, learn, and overcome was unmatched in the galaxy. As Earth's leaders began to mobilize, they quickly realized that they had to be strategic. This wouldn't be a war of brute force. It would be a war of cunning, of using everything they had to outsmart an enemy that thought they were invincible. The Empire had made the mistake of underestimating humanity. Now, Earth's people were determined to make them regret it. The first signs of the Empire's arrival were subtle at first. Small ships appeared at the edge of Earth's atmosphere, barely detectable by humanity's radar. They were scouts, testing the waters, probing for weaknesses. But humanity was ready. They had already detected the Empire ships long before they entered the atmosphere, their movements anticipated and countered. The first skirmishes took place in the sky above Earth, as human forces used every piece of technology at their disposal to defend the planet. The Galactic Empire had not expected this kind of resistance. They had assumed Earth would roll over, easy to conquer. But instead, they found themselves in the middle of an unexpected battle. The first shots were fired not by the Empire, but by humanity. The humans had built weapons that sent shockwaves through the Empire's fleet, causing them to retreat in confusion. The Empire was left with only one choice: escalate or face defeat. They had underestimated Earth, and now they had no choice but to prepare for a fight like they had never seen before. Earth, a small and seemingly insignificant planet, had proven to be far more dangerous than the Empire could have ever imagined. As the first real battle loomed on the horizon, people everywhere knew that their world was at stake. They could not afford to lose. This quiet beginning was only the start of something much larger. The Empire had underestimated Earth, but humanity wasn't about to let them forget their mistake. The air was thick with tension as the first real sign of the Empire's arrival became undeniable. It started with a strange, unsettling hum that filled Earth's atmosphere. At first, it was barely noticeable, just a distant echo in the air, as if the planet itself was trying to warn humanity of something unseen. But as the hours passed, the hum grew louder, sharper, a steady pulse that seemed to resonate from the sky above. It was unlike anything Earth scientists had ever encountered. No one could explain it. The best minds in the world worked tirelessly, searching for answers. What they discovered was not just a natural phenomenon, but the unmistakable signs of an approaching force, a fleet of alien ships, silently advancing toward Earth. At first, there was no panic. Earth had never been attacked by such a force. Humanity had never needed to prepare for something like this. But as the hum grew louder, as it echoed across every corner of the planet, people began to feel a deep, growing sense of unease. It was as though something vast, something unknowable, was looming just beyond the horizon. The news spread quickly, and soon, governments all over the world were on high alert. The military scrambled to mobilize, but the question was clear: how could they defend against an enemy they knew nothing about? And then, the ships appeared. They came in waves, massive craft that glided silently through Earth's atmosphere. Their shapes were unlike anything humanity had ever seen: sleek, angular, and terrifying. These ships moved with precision, with no sign of hesitation, as if they had done this countless times before. There was no explosion, no fiery descent from the sky. The ships simply emerged from the clouds, hovering above the Earth as if they had always been there, waiting. Panic rippled through the planet as the realization hit home. This was it. The Galactic Empire had arrived. On the ground, chaos spread quickly. People gathered in the streets, looking up at the sky with wide eyes, unsure of what was happening. Governments scrambled to communicate with the military, but it was too late. The ships were already here. The world's best radar systems detected them, but they were nothing more than blips on a screen, impossible to decipher. Earth's greatest minds had no idea how to respond. There was no handbook for this, no guide to help them understand how to fight an enemy from beyond the stars. The fear began to grow, slowly but surely. Humanity was on the brink of a contact that would change their world forever. But they were still unaware of the true scale of the Empire's power. High above, in the command centers of the alien ships, the Empire's officers were observing Earth with a sense of calm superiority. To them, this was a routine mission. Earth was just another insignificant planet, a small dot in the vastness of the galaxy. They had no interest in the people below. They didn't need to. Their fleet was vast, and their technology far superior to anything humanity could muster. They had come to conquer, to add another world to the ever-expanding reach of the Galactic Empire. Earth, with its primitive inhabitants, was no match for the power that now hovered above it. And yet, there was something strange happening. The humans below were reacting differently than the Empire had expected. They weren't cowering in fear. They weren't waiting for orders from their governments. Instead, they were fighting back quietly, subtly but with purpose. The first sign of human resistance came when the Empire's fleet sent down an exploratory squadron, sending small craft to land on Earth's surface to establish a foothold. As these ships began their descent, Earth's military, scattered and disorganized, began to respond. It wasn't with heavy weaponry or grand displays of force. Instead, it was a collection of smaller, uncoordinated strikes, hacked communications, scrambled radar systems, and minor attacks on the alien ships as they tried to land. The Empire was unprepared for this. They had underestimated the humans, thinking them simple and defenseless. But instead, they found that humanity was not so easily cowed. Every time they tried to advance, Earth's people adapted, adjusting their tactics, learning quickly from each encounter. The Empire's commanders began to take note of this, their confidence starting to crack, just slightly, as they realized the humans weren't going to bend to their will without a fight. The first focused on surviving this first contact. The world watched in suspense, unsure of what was to come, but knowing that they were no longer the innocent bystanders they had once been. Earth's military leaders worked around the clock, quickly coordinating a global defense effort. The planet's communication systems were reworked in a matter of hours, creating a unified command structure. It wasn't much, but it was enough to show that humanity was not going to simply sit back and be conquered. As the alien ships made their first direct approach, humanity's leaders had to make a decision. Should they try to engage the enemy directly, or should they focus on gathering information, learning about the ships and their capabilities before making a move? It was a gamble. The Empire's ships were massive, and they carried weapons that were beyond human comprehension. But Earth's leaders understood one thing: they had to try. Even if they couldn't defeat the Empire in a direct confrontation, they had to send a message. They would not be easy prey. In a bold move, Earth's military launched a series of rapid attacks against the closest ships in the Empire's fleet. Fighter jets, guided missiles, and experimental weapons were deployed, each strike designed to test the strength of the alien ships. The first few attacks were met with little success. The alien ships retaliated, their technology far more advanced. But then, something strange happened. The Empire's ships didn't destroy Earth's forces outright. Instead, they seemed to pull back slightly, as if evaluating the threat. It wasn't a complete retreat, but there was hesitation, a pause in the attack. And in that moment of hesitation, humanity saw an opening. The fear didn't go away. It couldn't. But a small flicker of hope had ignited in the hearts of Earth's people. They weren't completely helpless. They weren't as powerless as the Empire had believed. Humanity, with all its flaws and weaknesses, was capable of defiance. It was capable of fighting back. And now, for the first time, the Galactic Empire saw a glimpse of something they hadn't expected. The humans were not as easily defeated as they had imagined. The first contact had turned into a battle for survival, a fight that would continue until the very end. As the alien ships loomed overhead, their intentions still unclear, one thing was certain: humanity's response had only just begun. The Galactic Empire had never imagined that a tiny, insignificant planet like Earth could hold any potential threat. From the Empire's perspective, Earth was just another backwater world, ripe for conquest. The fleet that descended upon it was vast, powerful, and seemingly unstoppable. The Empire's soldiers were seasoned veterans, trained in combat that spanned galaxies with technology far superior to anything humanity had ever dreamed of. But what they failed to see, what they underestimated, was the hidden strength of the human race, a strength that was not rooted in superior technology or grand armies, but in something far more unpredictable, the human spirit. When the first wave of the Empire's ships arrived, the Earth's response was chaotic, to say the least. The world had no unified military force capable of matching the invaders. The leaders of Earth, governments torn by years of division and infighting, were ill-prepared for the sudden threat from the stars. But something strange happened in those first few moments of panic. As the alien ships darkened the skies, something stirred deep within humanity. It wasn't just fear. It was something deeper, more primal. People from all walks of life found themselves uniting. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, doctors, civilians, everyone who had once been divided by borders or ideologies suddenly saw themselves as one. They understood the gravity of the situation. If they didn't fight back, they would lose everything. Despite the initial chaos, humanity did not simply cower. In the face of overwhelming odds, Earth's people began to adapt. They learned quickly from the alien ships, analyzing their technology and tactics with an urgency driven by sheer desperation. Every failed attempt to fight back only fueled their resolve. The world's top minds collaborated in secret, working together to understand the alien ships' weaknesses. They couldn't compete with the Empire's firepower, but they could be clever. They could find ways to disrupt the invaders' systems, to turn the tide slowly, piece by piece. At first, their attacks were crude and inefficient. Fighter jets, outmatched by the alien crafts, were easily shot down. Missiles were intercepted long before they reached their targets. It seemed hopeless. Yet, humanity's greatest strength, its ability to learn, to innovate in the face of adversity, began to shine through. Scientists discovered that the Empire's ships, though technologically advanced, relied on certain frequencies to communicate and navigate. It was a weakness. Humanity didn't have the firepower to destroy the ships, but they could disrupt their systems. It was a small victory, but it was enough to give humanity a foothold. As the weeks went on, Earth's resistance grew stronger. People, once complacent with their daily lives, now found themselves waking up to a new reality. Ordinary civilians became soldiers, everyday engineers turned into inventors, and doctors worked tirelessly to develop new technologies that could be used in the fight. The human race had a hidden power, their ability to adapt, to think on their feet, and to rally together in the face of impossible odds. The Empire had made the fatal mistake of underestimating Earth, and it was now paying the price. Meanwhile, the Empire's commanders began to grow increasingly frustrated. They had expected a quick and easy conquest. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that was unpredictable, resilient, and resourceful. The Empire's superior technology didn't guarantee victory. The human spirit, raw, untamed, and relentless, had proved to be an unforeseen challenge. At first, the alien commanders dismissed the human efforts as insignificant, small-scale skirmishes that would eventually die down. But as time passed, their confidence began to waver. They saw Earth's resistance grow, the humans adapting and learning with every encounter. Then, in a move that would change the course of the war, humanity made their boldest strike yet. A team of brilliant engineers and soldiers had managed to infiltrate one of the Empire's supply ships. Using nothing but stolen technology and sheer ingenuity, they sabotaged the ship's weapon systems, rendering it vulnerable. This strike, while small, was the first real blow to the Empire's massive war machine. It sent shockwaves throughout the Empire's command. For the first time, they realized that Earth was not an easy target. Humanity had found its strength, and it was not in their weapons or their ships, but in their will to survive, to fight, and to protect their home. The Empire, rattled by the unexpected sabotage, attempted to regroup. They sent in reinforcements, a new wave of ships to overwhelm Earth's growing resistance. But they were met with something they hadn't anticipated. Humanity, learning from each encounter, had begun to synchronize their efforts. Communications, once disjointed, now flowed smoothly across the globe. The world's leaders, once divided, now acted as one. They coordinated attacks, sharing resources, and refining their strategies. The Empire's ships, once invincible, began to fall, not in grand, explosive battles, but through small, precise strikes. Earth's forces had learned how to outsmart their enemies, using the Empire's own tactics against them. The true power of humanity was not in their strength or their weapons, but in their ability to persevere, to adapt, and to never give up, no matter the odds. The more the Empire attacked, the more the humans fought back. The more they tried to crush Earth's spirit, the stronger it became. The Empire had expected to dominate, to bring Earth to its knees. Instead, they had unleashed a force they couldn't control. The relentless will of humanity to protect their home. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the outcome was no longer certain. The Galactic Empire had underestimated the hidden power of Earth, and now they were beginning to realize the consequences of their mistake. Humanity had proven something crucial. No matter how advanced the enemy, no matter how powerful the technology, the true strength of a species lay not in its weapons or its ships, but in its people. And Earth's people were not about to let go of their planet without a fight. The hidden power of humanity had been revealed, and it was more than enough to turn the tide. The battle for Earth had only just begun, and the Empire had no idea what they were up against. The galaxy had long been a battlefield, with war spanning across countless worlds and civilizations. Powerful empires had risen and fallen, each one claiming dominance over the stars with their vast fleets and advanced technologies. For centuries, the strategy of warfare had remained the same: firepower, conquest, and sheer might. The Galactic Empire, the most powerful force in the galaxy, had conquered hundreds of worlds, effortlessly crushing any resistance that dared to rise up against them. But they had made one critical mistake: they underestimated Earth. When the Empire's fleet first entered the solar system, they believed the planet was an easy target. Earth was a small, primitive world with no advanced technology or military force to speak of. The Galactic Empire had faced many lesser civilizations before, and they knew how to deal with them swiftly. Their approach was always the same: destroy everything in their path, show no mercy, and leave no room for rebellion. But what they didn't understand was that humanity had something the Empire could never have prepared for: innovation. The first attack was brutal and swift. Alien ships descended upon Earth, obliterating military installations and major cities in an attempt to cripple the planet's ability to respond. The Empire believed it was a simple mission: wipe out the humans, take the planet, and move on to the next. What they didn't account for was the fact that Earth's people, though unprepared and technologically inferior, had something that no other species had: adaptability. Instead of crumbling in fear, humanity adapted. People who had never fired a weapon before became soldiers. Civilians worked side by side with engineers and scientists, finding ways to fight back using whatever resources they could. They quickly realized that traditional warfare, bombing cities, launching missiles, and using tanks was not the answer. Earth needed a new kind of warfare. In the early days of the invasion, Earth's resistance was chaotic. There was no centralized command or cohesive strategy, only a scramble to survive. But slowly, humanity began to learn. They analyzed the Empire's tactics, understanding that brute force alone would not win the war. The key was innovation, not just in weapons, but in the very way they fought. The old ways of battle, the massive fleets of ships, the armies of soldiers, would not work against an enemy with far superior technology. Earth's people realized they had to find a way to outsmart the Empire, to fight a war of strategy rather than strength. It started with small victories. A group of hackers managed to infiltrate the Empire's communication systems, disrupting their command and control networks. It wasn't much, but it was enough to give Earth's forces a glimpse of hope. The Empire, so used to crushing their enemies with overwhelming force, hadn't prepared for an enemy that could fight back with intelligence, creativity, and surprise. Earth scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, developing new kinds of technology: drone warfare, stealth tactics, and electronic warfare. The new strategy was simple: use the enemy's own technology against them. As the days passed, the humans began to deploy their new tactics with increasing success. They launched small-scale guerrilla operations, targeting the Empire's supply lines and communication hubs. They didn't have the firepower to match the Empire's massive ships, but they had ingenuity. They used the terrain of Earth to their advantage, hiding in forests, mountains, and even the ruins of their own cities. With every success, humanity learned more about the Empire's weaknesses, slowly chipping away at their invincibility. The turning point came when a group of Earth's best engineers managed to reverse engineer one of the Empire's advanced weapons. They didn't have the resources to build an entire fleet of powerful ships, but they did have enough to create a single prototype and experimental ship capable of infiltrating the Empire's defenses. It was a bold move, one that could either lead to victory or doom. But the humans knew they had no other choice. With the Empire's fleets growing stronger and their attacks becoming more devastating, this was their only hope. The ship was a masterpiece of human ingenuity. It was small, fast, and virtually undetectable. The humans called it the Ghost. It wasn't designed for direct combat, but for sabotage. Its purpose was to infiltrate the Empire's most heavily guarded ships and facilities, planting explosives that would cripple their infrastructure from within. The Ghost was humanity's answer to the Empire's overwhelming force, a weapon of precision, not power. The first mission was a success. The Ghost infiltrated one of the Empire's flagship vessels, planting explosives in critical areas. The Empire's crew never knew what hit them. In the midst of their prideful dominance, they had failed to notice the one weakness that could bring them down, their own overconfidence. The Ghost's attack crippled the flagship, sending shockwaves throughout the Empire's command. For the first time, the Galactic Empire realized that Earth was not a weak, primitive world to be conquered easily. It was a world that could fight back, and not just with weapons, but with a new kind of warfare. The Ghost's success marked the beginning of a new era in the war. As more sabotage missions were launched, Earth's forces grew bolder. They attacked the Empire's supply ships, their command centers, and even their factories, disrupting their ability to wage war. The Empire's advanced fleets, once thought invincible, began to fall. The key to their defeat wasn't in matching their firepower, but in outwitting them at every turn. Earth's forces had learned how to fight a new kind of war, one where creativity, adaptability, and precision were more important than sheer strength. As the conflict dragged on, the Empire found itself losing ground. Earth's resistance was relentless, using new tactics and technology to stay one step ahead. The war was no longer just a battle of strength, it was a battle of minds. And in this new kind of warfare, humanity had proven to be more than a match for the Empire. The Galactic Empire had thought they were facing an easy conquest, but what they had encountered instead was a force unlike any they had ever seen, a force that didn't rely on sheer strength, but on the power of ingenuity and the will to survive. The war was far from over, but one thing had become clear to both sides. Humanity had changed the rules of warfare. They had created a new kind of battle, one where the most powerful weapon was not a ship or a bomb, but the mind. And in this new war, Earth was not the underdog anymore. They were the unexpected challengers, the masters of strategy, and the Empire had no idea what they were up against. The Galactic Empire had ruled the stars for centuries, an unstoppable force that crushed any civilization that dared to stand against it. With advanced technologies, vast armies, and fleets of massive warships, the Empire had swept across the galaxy, leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. Earth, a small, seemingly insignificant planet on the edge of the galaxy, had been the Empire's next target. Its people, unprepared and technologically inferior, had never faced such a threat. But the Empire had made one fatal mistake. They underestimated humanity. At first, it seemed like a battle that Earth could never win. The Empire's ships arrived in Earth's orbit, their dark forms looming over the planet like a storm on the horizon. Cities fell, and military defenses were shattered in the blink of an eye. The people of Earth watched in horror as the might of the Empire descended upon them. For many, it seemed like the end. But in the chaos of destruction, something extraordinary happened. Humans refused to surrender. They did not bow to fear, nor did they yield to the Empire's overwhelming power. Instead, they fought back. They fought with a resilience that no one had expected. The first days of the conflict were a blur of confusion. Earth's governments, thrown into disarray by the sudden attack, struggled to form a unified resistance. Military forces were scattered, cities were in ruins, and the people were lost. Yet, despite all this, humanity's most valuable weapon began to emerge: their ability to adapt. Earth's people were not warriors by nature, but they were survivors. Scientists, engineers, and civilians joined forces, working together to create new weapons, build makeshift defenses, and find ways to disrupt the Empire's advanced technology. The fight was not one of strength, but of willpower and ingenuity. The first victory came in an unexpected form. A group of hackers, working from the ruins of a destroyed city, managed to breach the Empire's communication systems. It wasn't a decisive strike, but it was enough to send a message. Earth's people were not powerless. They were not defeated. Slowly, other victories followed. Small resistance cells sprang up across the globe, each one learning from the last and sharing knowledge. Earth's military, once overwhelmed, began to adapt. The humans found ways to use their limited resources to their advantage. Instead of trying to match the Empire's firepower, they used the terrain, the environment, and their resourcefulness. Guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run strikes, and sabotage became their methods of warfare. The tipping point came when a group of brilliant scientists, working under the cover of darkness, managed to reverse engineer one of the Empire's warships. Using parts from destroyed ships and stolen technology, they created a new weapon, a ship unlike any the Empire had ever seen. It was small, agile, and equipped with cloaking technology. They called it the Phantom. The Phantom was not built for head-to-head combat. It was built for precision strikes and sabotage. Its mission was clear: strike at the heart of the Empire's power, cripple their leadership, and send a message that humanity could no longer be ignored. The Phantom's first mission was a success. It infiltrated an Empire flagship, planted explosives, and slipped away undetected. The explosion rocked the flagship, causing massive damage and throwing the Empire's command into disarray. For the first time, the Empire realized that humanity was not just a species to be wiped out. They were a force to be reckoned with. The Phantom's success was the spark that ignited a chain reaction. Earth's forces, inspired by the audacity of the mission, began to launch more targeted strikes against the Empire's most important installations. Each victory weakened the Empire, causing cracks to form in their once unshakable dominance. As the war progressed, humanity's strategy evolved. They realized that brute force would not win the war. The Empire's technology was too advanced, and their armies too vast. Instead, they turned to strategy, innovation, and precision. Earth's engineers designed new weapons and defenses, while civilians played a vital role in the war effort, building underground bunkers, maintaining supply lines, and providing crucial intelligence. The resistance was not just a military force, it was a collective effort, a society united in its determination to survive. The Empire, growing desperate, tried to respond with even greater force. They sent fleets of warships to Earth, hoping to overwhelm the resistance once and for all. But they had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt. The humans had learned how to use the Empire's own tactics against them. They ambushed supply convoys, sabotaged ships, and hacked into the Empire's systems, causing confusion and chaos. Every time the Empire thought they had the upper hand, humanity found a way to turn the tide. The final battle was nothing like the first. The Empire had amassed its greatest fleet, intending to crush Earth's last stand. But the humans had one final trick up their sleeves. Using a combination of stealth technology, sabotage, and coordinated strikes, Earth's forces launched a devastating attack on the Empire's flagship, the largest warship ever built. The humans had learned everything about the Empire's ship, from its weaknesses to its strengths. The attack was swift and precise, striking at the heart of the Empire's command. The flagship, once thought invincible, was destroyed in a massive explosion. With the flagship destroyed, the Empire's forces were thrown into disarray. The coordinated strikes from the humans had crippled their communication networks, leaving the Empire's fleet scattered and leaderless. In the chaos that followed, humanity seized the opportunity. They launched one final, all-out assault on the Empire's remaining forces. It was a battle of attrition, but humanity had the advantage. They had fought for so long, adapted so well, that they were no longer the underdogs. They were the victors. In the aftermath, the Galactic Empire's grip on the galaxy shattered. The war was over, and humanity had won. The Empire, once unstoppable, lay broken and defeated. The victory was not just a triumph of firepower, but of spirit, ingenuity, and unity. Earth had shown that even the most powerful empire in the galaxy could be brought down by a species willing to fight with everything they had. The galaxy would never be the same again. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not as a subject, not as a footnote, but as a force to be reckoned with. As the dust settled, the people of Earth stood together, their eyes turned to the future. They had won not through sheer force, but through their unyielding will to survive. They had proven that no matter the odds, no matter the challenge, humanity would always find a way to overcome. Their victory was not just the end of a war, it was the beginning of a new era, one where Earth would rise as a powerful force in the galaxy, a reminder that even the most powerful empires could be toppled by the strength of the human spirit.